Hello children, how are you all? Have you studied what I have taught in the earlier section? Have you done the homework? Now let us continue with the next section.
Estimating to the nearest tens by rounding off. For this, we have to follow certain rules. The first one is to check the digit at ones place. When we are rounding off to the nearest tens, we will have to check the digit at ones place. Then, if the digit at ones place is less than 5, we will leave the digit as itself and put 0 in ones place. That is, we will leave the digit as the same in tens place and put 0 in ones place. Or we can say that if the ones place is less than 5, we round down. So, now we can do it with an example. Consider the number 52. Here, the digit at ones place is 2. As per our rule, we have to check the digit at ones place. So we know that 2 is less than 5. So what we should do? Check the rule number 2. We should keep the digit in tens place at itself. So when you are keeping the digit in tens place at itself, we will get it as 5. And what about the digit at ones place? We have to put 0. So when we put the 0 here, we will get the answer as 50. When we round off 52 to the nearest 10, we get the answer as 50. Now, what about if the digit at ones place is equal to or greater than 5? Then we have to add 1 to the digit at tens place and put 0 in ones place. Or we can say that if the digit at ones place is equal to or greater than 5, we round up. So now consider the number 38. Here the digit at ones place is 8. We know that 8 is greater than 5. Isn't it? So what we should do? As per our rule number 3, we know that if a digit in the ones place is greater than 5 or equal to 5, we will add 1 to the digit at tens place. So when we are adding 1 to 3, we get the answer as 4. Now what we should do for the ones place? We should put 0 in the ones place. So we'll put a 0. So when we are rounding off 38 to the nearest 10, we get the answer as 40. Now here is a set of problems which we can do now itself. The question is to round off the numbers to the nearest 10. And the first one is number 26. So consider the number 26. And when we are checking the ones digit, we get it as 6. So we know that 6 is greater than 5. Then what we should do? We should add 1 to the tens digit. If we are adding 1 to the tens digit, we get it as 3. 2 plus 1, we will get it as 3. And what about the digit in ones place? We have to put 0 there. So when we are rounding off 26 to the nearest 10, we get the answer as 30. Now consider the next one. It is 73. So we know that 3 is in the ones place. So 3 is less than 5. What we should do? We should keep the digit at tens place as itself. So we'll keep 7 here itself. And what about the digit at ones place? We should put a 0. So when we are rounding off 73 to the nearest 10, we will get the answer as 70. Now, what about the next one? The number is 216. We know that the digit at ones place is 6. 6 is greater than 5. So, obviously, we have to add 1 to the tens digit. If we are adding 1 to the tens digit, we get it as 2. Then we have to put 0 in the ones place and write the digit at hundreds place as itself. So we'll write 2 here. So when we are rounding off 216 to the nearest 10, we get the answer as 220. What about the last one? It is number 11. Here 1 is in the ones place. So we know that 1 is less than 5. So what we should do? We should keep the 1 in the tens place as itself. So we'll write 1 here and put a 0 in the ones place. So when we are rounding off 11 to the nearest 10, we get the answer as 10. Estimating to the nearest hundreds by rounding off. When we are estimating to the nearest hundreds, we will check the digit at tens place. If the digit at tens place is less than 5, then we will leave the digit as the same in hundreds place and put 0 in tens and ones place. So, let's do an example. Consider the number 124. We are rounding this to the nearest hundreds. So, we have to check the digit at tens place. The digit here is 2. So, we know that 2 is less than 5. So, what we should do? We have to keep the digit at hundreds place as itself. So, we will write 1 as itself. Then we have to put 0 in tens and ones place. Look at the second rule. We have to put 0 in tens and ones place. So, when we put 0, we'll get the answer as 100. When we are rounding off 124 to the nearest 100, we get the answer as 100. Then, what about if the digit at tens place is equal to or greater than 5? Then, we have to add 1 to the digit at hundreds place and put 0 in tens and ones place. So, we'll explain it with an example. Take the number 571. So, the digit at tens place is 7. We know that 7 is greater than 5. So, what we have to do? We have to add 1 to the hundreds digit. That is, if we add 1 to 5, we'll get the answer as 6. Then we have to put 0 in both tens and ones place. So when we put 0 in both the places, we'll get the answer as 600. So when we are rounding off 571, we'll get the answer as 600. Now, let's do certain examples. Here is a set of problems which we will do it now. So, first question is 214. 214. So, when we check the digit at tens place, we know that it is 1. So, we know that 1 is less than 5. So, we will keep the digital and hundreds place as itself. So, we will give 2 as itself and put 0 in tens and ones place. So, when we are rounding off 214, we will get the answer as 200. Now, the next example is 873. We have 7 in the tens place. So we know that 7 is greater than 5. So we will add 1 to the hundreds digit. Hundreds place. When we add 1 to the hundreds place, we get the answer as 9. And then we have to put zeros in the tens and ones place. So we'll put 0 in the tens and ones place. So when we are rounding 873 to the nearest hundred, we get the answer as 900. Then the next example is 216. Look here. Again we have 1 in the tens place. So when we are checking this, we know that 1 is less than 5. So what we have to do? We have to keep the digit at hundreds place as itself. So we'll get 2 itself here. And then we have to put 0 in tens and ones place. We put 0 in tens and ones place. So we'll get the answer as 200 and 200 for 216. The last one. What about the last one? It is 591. When we are rounding this off, we know that 9 is greater than 5. So, we have to add 1 to the hundreds place. So, we'll get it as 6. And what will be the digit at tens and hundreds place? We have to put it as 0. So we'll get the answer as 600. When we are rounding off 591, we will get the answer as 600. Now, what about estimating to the nearest thousands? When we are rounding off to the nearest thousands, we will check the digit at hundreds place. We will check the digit at hundreds place. If the digit at hundreds place is less than 5, then we will leave the digit as the same in thousands place and put 0 in the hundreds, tens and ones place. The first example will be 1289. We have to check the digit at hundreds place. We have 2 there. So, we know that 2 is less than 5. So, we have to keep the digit at thousands place there itself. So, we will put 1 there. And what about the rest? We have to put 0 in the hundreds, tens and ones place. Check the rule number 2. You have to put 0 in the rest of the place. So, we'll get the answer as 1000. When we are rounding off 1289 to the nearest thousands, we get the answer as 1000. So, now what about if the digit at hundreds place is equal to or greater than 5? Then we have to add 1 to the digit at thousands place and put 0 in hundreds place, tens place and ones place. Now check the number 3572. What we have to do here? We have to check the digit at hundreds place. We get the answer as 5. And so we know that 5 is equal to 5. Now check the third rule. If the digit at hundreds place is equal to or greater than 5, then we have to add 1 to the thousands place. So we know that here we have 5 which is equal to 5. So what we have to do? We have to add 1 to the thousands place. When we are adding 1 to 3, we get the answer as 4. What about the rest of the digits? It will become 0. We'll put 0 in the hundreds, tens and ones place. So, when we are rounding this number off, we get the answer as 4000. Now, let's move on. Do some problems. Here is a set of numbers which we have to round it off to the nearest thousands. Our first one is 6,873. Look here, the digit at hundreds place is 8, which is greater than 5, isn't it? So what we have to do? We have to add 1 to the thousands place. So 6 plus 1 will become 7. Now what about the rest of the place? It will be 0. So when we are rounding off 6,873 to the nearest thousands, we'll get the answer as 7,000. Now the next example. It is 3,248. The digit at hundreds places 2. We know that 2 is less than 5. So what we should do? We should keep the digit at thousands place as itself. So we'll write 3 there itself. Then what about the rest of the numbers? You have to put 0. So we'll put 0 for 100, tens and ones. So we'll get the answer as 3000. When we are rounding 3248 to the nearest thousand, we get the answer as 3000. What about the next one? It is 1032,032. So we know that the digit at hundreds places 0, which is less than 5. 0 is less than 5. So we have to keep the digit at thousands place as itself. So we'll put 1 there itself and put 0 for the rest of the places. So when we are rounding off 1032, we get the answer as 1000 itself. The last question. It is 9,176. When we are rounding this off to the nearest thousand, we know that 1 is less than 5. So when we are rounding this off, we'll put the digit at thousands place there itself. So we'll put 9 there itself. And what about the rest of the digits? It will become 0. So we get the answer as 9,000. So when we are rounding 9,176 to the nearest thousands, we get the answer as 9,000. Have a nice day. Thank you.